All right, I want to welcome everybody to today's payroll session. We're going to be talking about payroll, the changes in the different versions of Sage 300 payroll. We're going to speak briefly about my workflow analyzer, which you guys started to learn about that product last year when you were introduced to it at the end of the year when we needed to do the 1094 and 1095 reporting. So there's some changes there we'll talk about with that particular piece of software. But let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and progress the slide to the next slide. Just wanted to make you aware of where your offices are so that you guys have an idea of what partners, these are the partners in Tandem, and where they're located. We did establish a new partner in Connecticut. His name is Dana Stidson, and he's slowly bringing all of his clients and introducing them to Tandem Technologies. Some of you may know Dana because you've worked with him in the past. We feel really grateful to have his knowledge and expertise be available to you as well as part of the Tandem team. So this is me, and we're going to be talking again about payroll. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to do a few slides first. So let's just talk about what we're going to cover today. So I want to talk to you about the important dates to get on your calendar, and actually it's for 2017. But you can put them on now for your 2017 year. I want to talk about the ACA timeline, which is the Affordable Care Act. Most of us are knowledgeable of that acronym by now. There's also the Workflow Analyzer tool and what it can do to help you in your reporting. We're going to talk about who's required to file because some things have changed there from last year that you need to be aware of, not just the dates. We'll also talk about full-time employee equivalents, which is the second acronym here, FTE. And I'll talk to you about some other benefits of software and what other software is available to you to capitalize on the reporting that you need to do now under the Affordable Care Act. I'm also going to talk about the Sage 300 2017 direct deposit, and then just let you know how Tandem is helping you with all of these things. I want to just leave a quick reminder to, if you have hold music at your organization, please don't put us on hold because we will hear the hold music and it will go on recording. So if you have to step out of your office, just either set the phone down or put it on mute. Okay? There's some important dates for 2017, mostly with regards to, I want to bring out the 1095 and 1095C forms that are going to be due, and those dates are January 31 for the employee compliance to get them copies of their forms, which is the same date that their W-2s are due, and also 1099s for your accounts payable vendor payments. IRS expects paper copies to be filed by February 28th, and then if you're electronic filing, you get a whole other month when they're due March 31st. Sage 300 Payroll, let's talk a little bit about that. If you are planning to migrate to Sage 300 2017, which I always encourage clients to migrate, you've paid for the software. If you're on a support plan from our company that allows you to have the upgrades done at no additional cost outside of your contract, I encourage you to get on the latest build. It doesn't cost you any extra, so why not? There's also some other things to be aware of, that if you're on an older version, 2012 or earlier, that software is currently not supported by Sage. So you definitely, if you're on the payroll module, you want to be thinking about moving and getting up to at least version 2014. But if you're going to do the upgrade, we may as well take you to 2017. There's also a change to the payroll and how it is going to be licensed. So the payroll 2017 is all subscription-based now. So when you go to renew your payroll tax updates, you will need to be switched over to the Sage payroll subscription format, okay? This is important because you have to initiate this. Sage will not. So if you have not already spoken to a Sage representative and gotten onto the annual subscription plan, which is now by employees, and those are active employees in your company, you need to do that. okay? And this is for the Sage 300 payroll. If you're using the HRMS payroll, this is not applicable to you, okay? So this is only if you're using the Sage 300 payroll. So I encourage you to reach out to Linda Kiernan here in the Tandem headquarters office, and she can get you the appropriate person at Sage to either email them or give them a phone call. Okay. Some other important dates here just about the ACA I wanted to bring up briefly here. So I'll let you guys read through these. I won't bore you by reading everything on the screen here, but the Affordable Care Act has been around for quite some time, actually, and there's some new changes to it now, which I'll go over with you for this year. The first thing I also want to tell you is that last year, Sage was giving away, if you remember, what was called the My Workflow Analyzer to all Sage 300 payroll clients at no additional cost. This was allowing you to generate your 1094 and 1095 forms so that you could submit those to employees. Those forms are now going to be made available as part of your payroll subscription. Okay, now notice I said subscription. That means 2017. So if you're not on 2017 and part of that payroll subscription, you're not going to be getting those 1094 and 1095 C forms for free. So another good reason to upgrade your payroll to 2017. If you need the full suite functionality of the My Workflow Analyzer, which was calculating your pay or play, it was giving you analysis, it was allowing you to fill in the 1095 and 1094 forms automatically with data. If you need that functionality, you will need to purchase the Sage HRMS and My Workflow Analyzer modules, okay, which is a separate purchase from Sage now. So they have broken out that My Workflow Analyzer. It is not free anymore, and you won't be able to use that if you were using it in the past for any payroll reporting. Okay, so what does that Workflow Analyzer do, and how is it different? First of all, it lets you do modeling, understand your eligibility, and help you be compliant, because it includes all of the reports and everything that you need in order to be compliant with the IRS reporting. Let's talk a little bit about who is required to file this year. This has changed. The very top part here, this is going to be required to file if you have 50 or more employees that are full-time equivalents. Last year it was, I believe, 100 plus employee full-time equivalents, but this year it's now 50. Also, employers, your compliant coverage has changed. It used to be 70%, I believe, last year, and this year it's now you are needing to cover 95% of your full-time workforce with health insurance for their families up to dependents that are age 26. Now, companies with fewer than 50 full-time equivalents are still not required to provide health care coverage and thus not required to file. But there are some stipulations to that, and one of them is if you're self-insured. So you would be required to file some other forms, and we'll go over that in just a minute. Now, most of you are probably asking, what is an FTE or full-time equivalent? So I've given some examples here of what a full-time equivalent it is, and I just want to kind of go over this. So, for instance, if we're talking about the 2016 taxable year, an employer, if they have 5 employees that are working 2,080 hours each, and then let's say you had 3 employees that were working 1,040 hours each, and 1 employee wage which was working 2,300 hours, you would have a combined total of hours of 15,600. And so out of those employees, which is 9 employees, you would have 7 full-time equivalents. okay, because you're taking the total counted hours and dividing by that 2,080, which is your normal 40-hour work week, 52-hour work period. So what the government wants you to do is round to the next lowest whole number if it came out. In this case, it comes out to 7.5 employees. So you would round down to 7 for this particular example. So I've given you an idea here how you can calculate the hours. Now, there are reports within the payroll module that will tell you how many hours an employee has worked in a particular year. There's also some requirements for calculating by percentage of a month as well. So, it can get really tricky here when you're trying to understand what a full-time equivalent is and if your company needs to report. But do remember, the main thing is if you have 50 or more employees. If you don't, then you're still not required to file. So then what reports, if you don't have to file, would you be required to file no matter what? And that there is a 655 report or 6055 report that you would have to file no matter what, no matter how many employees you had, if you were carrying a self-insured health plan in your company. Okay, so that's the only thing I kind of wanted to bring to your attention there. There are penalties for not filing, and the government's idea is that ignorance is no excuse. So if you don't know, you should probably get with your CPA firm. We're also happy to help guide you on some basic information regarding human resource management and your compliant reporting requirements. But definitely, we wouldn't want you to take everything that we would give you as the final ruling, because we're not professionals at this and doing tax filing. So it's best to consult with your CPA firm. Got a little chart here that is somewhat silly, but it also helps you understand, your health insurance reporting requirements and if you need to file. So I have this here. You can go through some of these. I'm also happy to send out the slide deck for this PowerPoint presentation if that's more helpful to you, so that you can have it later and look at this. Again, it'll also be up on our website. But it kind of walks you through, if you do this or you have this many employees, are you, needing to file? Are you a member of the ALE group? And there's another acronym for us, and that's for large employers. So when you're filing, what kind of data is required to fill in these 1094, 1095, and the 655 forms? It's basically a combination of payroll data and then what we call HR data. HR data is on the left side here, things like dates of hire, termination dates, and then also dependent eligibility, dates of birth and death and things of that nature that play an impact from an HR side that your payroll side is not going to do, okay? On the payroll side, you've got hours worked and paid. Obviously, that would be housed in your payroll program. And if you have an integrated Sage HRMS solution, obviously those two talk to each other, or they can, and thus the combination of this data together is what the My Workflow Analyzer uses, okay? There's also the benefits data, so it's proof of offering a plan, but your employee rejected it or turned it down. Your HR benefits plan for your Sage HRMS would also give you the employee cost by plan, which also helps fill in that My Workflow Analyzer tool that Sage has developed. So there's lots of pieces of information that come from different systems, because payroll obviously doesn't allow you to track the proof of you offering a plan, and it might not offer you a full picture of the employee cost by plan. So I've talked a little bit about, if you're needing to use My Workflow Analyzer for your data, what would you need to purchase? you would need to get the Sage HRMS and the My Workflow Analyzer modules at a minimum. And the full suite of HRMS products does integrate with Sage 300 Payroll. There's some setup there that needs to happen to integrate the two, but it does integrate. So let's talk about Sage 300 2017, the payroll direct deposit change. So right now, if you are using the Sage 300 EFT for your direct deposit, which that's just generating an electronic funds transfer file, which most of you I think are probably doing, you can still do that, okay? Even in 2017, you'll still be able to create your own EFT file. And I had somebody ask me this just the other day, and so I went and verified that, and the answer is you will be able to use the EFT. They're not taking that away. But if you want to have Sage be the direct deposit, that's who you would submit to as a banking institution, and then they would take the money out of your bank account and put it into your employee's bank account, they are offering now a payroll direct deposit service. This was free initially to people that had a payroll subscription model. I don't know if they're going to be changing that, but right now that service is free. If you're going to switch over to that solution and not utilize your own EFT file, and you want to use Sage as your banking institution, and then they will draft the money out of your checking account, your corporate account, and pay your employees, you can set that up. There's a little bit of setup required, and I want to make you aware of some gotchas in case you try to do this on your own. We hope you'll give us a call, but if you do decide you want to do this on your own, you need to be aware of a couple of things. One is when you go into the payroll setup options screen in Payroll after version 2017 or what we call version 7.3, that's the build number, version 7.3, but Sage calls it 2017. You will see a new tab on that payroll setup options screen called Direct Deposit. That is where you have to, first of all, if you're going to do that, you need to be on your server or a workstation that has a full installation of Sage on the workstation or on the server. Now, obviously, if you're doing this from a server, it's going to have a full working copy of the Sage programs on that server that you're launching Sage from. But if you do this at a workstation that just had a workstation setup, it's not going to give you the right license key code, and it will not work, okay? So, again, you need to either be on the server or you need to have a full-blown Sage 300 2017, all the program files installed on at least one workstation in order to do that, to apply for the direct deposit.
Is that just for the setup, Karen?
It is
so
only
you have to be on the server?
Yeah, good question, Craig. It's only to initiate the license file to generate it. So that's what they're looking for. Because the license files for your payroll are on the server, typically, in the data folder, but that's why they want you to either launch it from the server or the workstation, because that's where the license files for your Sage are. And I'm happy to help out with that if anybody decides they want to utilize Sage for direct deposit. But again, you don't have to do this. It's if you're just fine creating your own EFT, you can do that. Be aware that it will take up to 5 days to do a pre-notes, and Sage does require you to submit pre-notes. So it's not something where you're going to be able to implement this payroll solution, next week, because it's also going to take a little bit of time for Sage to issue your activation codes for the new direct deposit. So I would say you should probably give yourself, in reality, a full month to get it implemented properly. You want to get the information from your employees. Obviously, for direct deposit, you'll need their bank account information to do deposits, and understand that you'll need time to set that up in your payroll. So if you have a lot of employees, it can take more time. So I would, at a minimum, give it a month from the time that you want to set it up until you get it implemented. The direct deposit payments, they have to be synchronized by 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 banking days before the check date. Okay? If you don't get it in that time frame, the bank will reject your direct deposit. Now, that's true whether you're doing your own direct deposit with EFT or using Sage's new direct deposit program. Okay, so I wanted to take a look also at the payroll year-end procedures. I think this is a good time to kind of go over some of that. So let's do that now. I'm going to go back to my desktop here, and I'm going to launch Sage. And I'm going to launch a new version that you guys haven't probably seen yet in some of our demos. Now, this is the Sage 300 portal, but it's also pretty similar to what Sage 300C looks like. Okay. Let's see if I can do this again. I'm striking out here. Wow, it's going really slow. Sorry about that, you guys. Let me just go back over here and copy this section that I need. Okay, hang on. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to log into the sample company. Sign in. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this new portal version, it does run. I'm actually in a browser, and you can run it from any browser. This is available in the Sage 300 2014, 2016, and 2017 versions. Okay? This is no additional cost to you to set this up. It's just a matter of, do you want to be using the tools over the web? Okay? Now, if you move to Sage 300C, your screens are going to look very similar. You will have this desktop or dashboard type display. So we also have things that we can do, which is periodic processing and year-end tasks. So just going in here through the U.S. payroll, you can see that we're sort of limited on the things that we can see and do in here because they haven't developed all of the portal screens or snapshots for the payroll module. But I did want to make you aware that we can log in to Sage 300 via this portal and go in and do some payroll tasks. So if we're going to do the year-end, we'll need to go back into our normal desktop, what I call the perpetual license. And let me change my date in here. And let's go down to payroll and talk about the periodic processing. So at the end of the year, we have things that we can do, like deleting inactive records in Sage 300 payroll. So I want to just take a brief moment to talk about doing a deletion of employee records and making sure that you understand what when you click on these things, what's happening. Because if you go and delete an employee that has been terminated, you will no longer be able to bring up any reports on that employee. By law, I believe we are required to keep records for 7 years on employees regarding payroll-type data. So that's definitely something to consider when you're getting ready to delete either historical transactions or the employee from the system. So you might want to understand what you're deleting before you do it. You also can choose to delete inactive earnings and deductions. They can't be in play for the current year. So if you have deductions that you've been using throughout the year for your employees, you want to make sure that you're not trying to delete them during that year. And in fact, I don't believe the system will let you. You would have to delete them after they are unassigned to the employee. So that would mean when you roll over to a new year, that would be the only time you can go in and unassign something to an employee. You also can delete inactive taxes. So, basically taking and deleting taxes for employees and things of that nature can be done as well. When you delete history, it is really doing that. It's going to delete it through, and you can see this date. So it's going to delete all of our history for the last 2 years when we do that. We don't have any control over that date range, okay, when you're doing history deletions. So it's only going to let you go that far to delete. So anything before this date, it will delete. All right. And then we would just hit the proceed button to go on through that periodic processing for payroll. Does anybody have any questions about that in particular? I want to also show you under the payroll setup options, this is the new direct deposit tab that I was talking about. And because I'm not on my server right now, okay, I'm on a workstation, I would not want to apply for the Sage 300 direct deposit, okay? But once you are on either the server, this is the form that takes you out to where you can apply for that direct deposit license, okay? They are going to want to know things like your federal employee ID, your Sage customer number, and if you're not sure what that is, Linda Kiernan would be happy to get that for you. The Sage 300 company code, if you're not sure what that is, let me show you how you would obtain that. You would go to Common Services, okay, Company Profile, and here is your database ID right here. So that's also called your company ID. That's what they're referring to on this form right here, okay? You should probably know whether you're a seasonal employer or not, or a SAN, a Sage Accountant Network. Most people are not, so you're going to just say no to that. Primary contact, that's you, not me. So whoever is doing your payroll would be probably the person I would put in there, or could be the president of your company. But down here you also have a payroll contact, and you see where you can say same as company, primary company contact. They want to know your bank routing number, okay, and then the bank name and then your account number and whether it is a checking or savings. Now, I have run into a situation where sometimes people don't know if it's a checking or savings account. I encourage you to check with your bank because it does make a difference in the license code that gets generated. Then they will also ask you to attach a voided check for that account. So you would need to scan it and then put that file in here. This is the billing bank account. In other words, if it's different than your Sage 300 direct deposit service fees bank account, it would just be whatever different bank account. But you can, again, use the same as the payroll bank account. So this is for your direct deposit service fees, if any. So that means transaction fees. And then we have the terms and conditions. You will be required to sign this, and you're signing it by clicking here and then entering your name and title and your email address. I would strongly encourage you to print that agreement out so that you understand exactly what you're getting into there. It's just like any other form of a contract, and also this is the end user license agreement. So it's what you're agreeing to with Sage when you allow them to be your handler for direct deposit services. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? What I would encourage you to put in here for your legal company name is what you have the software registered under Sage. So when we are activating your modules in Sage, okay, there is, let me go into Sage so I can show you this, underneath Help and System Information, and, oops, sorry, not System Information, Licenses, and then License Manager. Okay, here is your client ID, and then this is going to be your company ID according to Sage. Now, that's not what they're referring to on that form. Okay, they need to know the legal name that you have registered with your bank. Okay, so if it's different than the company name that's in here, you want to make sure that you put in the correct company code. Now, you can put in your company code, your company name from Sage here. You can put that in here under your DBA if you need to or want to. But mostly this is like your banking institution. Sage is going to be able to look up your real name, how it's registered with them, which is here, when you give them your customer number. Okay? Any questions on this? Okay, I am going to go ahead at this point in time and turn off the record button, and I'm going to open this up to